Hello, everybody from moderately hot Zagreb. It's your two boys, Christian and Hrvoje.
Hello?
Episode 10. Who would have thought? After skipping a week once again, mainly attributed to my sister getting married and a long way home from London, where, if you remember the weekend from hell, I talked about basically, how do you say it, letting my friend down when he was getting into a civic partnership. So I decided to make it up to him on my next trip to UK. So I stayed with them for a couple of days, had an excellent time. Shout out also to Patrick, who's one of our patrons, who took me on a great, some small sightseeing and a great time out with a couple of drinks. Had a lovely time. Anyways, aside from not doing a podcast for a week, we were also quite busy playing tournaments for 2 weeks prior. We were in Birmingham, but it's not Birmingham, it is Birmingham, right?
It is Birmingham, yeah.
Yeah. UK Games Expo, where we played Treasure Cup, probably, yeah, Treasure Cup.
It was a Treasure Cup, yeah.
It was incorporated into a bigger board game expo, actually. And I really enjoyed that we had some opportunity to walk around, browse some board games. We even ended up buying 2 of them and really enjoying them both. So actually a very good hit rate on that. We'll talk a little bit about what we played. Regarding performance, I did decently well. I ended up 13th after the Swiss rounds, with a very somewhat unlucky, somewhat maybe strategically misplaced play versus Nami in the last round. And then I quite unluckily lost to Whitebeard in top 16, 2-1, on the back of him only playing 3 Whitebeards.
Yogis,
and playing, and playing all 3 in a row, while taking the last life. So that last life was the 3rd Whitebeard, and I could not recover from that. Had to go all in, and then he had a full hand of counters as well. So ended up top 16, which is still a very respectable result. Actually, it's a result which puts me as the most prolific, is that the word, player of this season. So
if Limitless ever updates the tools rankings.
Yeah. Nothing to complain. Had an excellent run this season, and work's not done. We've got more tournaments coming up. So, as we always say, we prefer not to dwell on the past and just move forward to all the new tournaments, the new meta. And that is what we'll be talking about today, the new meta. But before we do that, Hrvoje, how was your week? Oh yeah, and then I didn't play the online events because my sister was getting married, and I had the 2nd anniversary of my 28th birthday on Sunday. So we were entangled up in all the festivities, so I used the time to get some quality time with the family. What about you, Hrvoje?
Well, I played 4 tournaments in 2 weekends, like Saturday, Sunday. How did that come to be? Well, fun, you should ask. There's this guy I know who's really good at Gecko Moria, and he was doing really well in the format, so I thought maybe I should play Gecko Moria too. So I took Gecko Moria to Birmingham, and it did not go well. I almost lost to a blue yellow ace because he had two insane puddings, but luckily I had to draw like only 3k from after he puddings me, and I did, so I survived. But then stuff went really wrong against Sakazuki with like multiple Morias and lightsabers in the stage build, of course. Then I lost to Katakuri to just having no cost reduction to remove his stuff, and trying to play around 10 cost mom and getting hit with Amaro reject. I knew the 10 cost was search, whatever. And then, yeah, I even lost to Reiju to top it off. Like, just, full walk of shame and just root for others who are playing in Birmingham. But then, Chris and I had a backup plan. We came prepared for all situations. There was a planned Dragon Ball Regional for Sunday. And what do you know? We know quite a few Dragon Ball players, and my brother is one of them. So we secured 2 decks for the regional.
Keep in mind, we secured them a day before.
Yeah. It was, since it's UK and everything's late, just like the One Piece tournament was in OPO6, the Dragon Ball tournament was in set 1. And that was good for us because I didn't read any of the new cards, and I knew at least what the green cards did because I played Broly at 1 locals and I went 3-0 with an unfinished Broly deck at the time. But, I had some experience. But when the day of the tournament came, I basically had to reread all the rules because I couldn't remember pretty much anything. Together with some of our Italian friends. I ended up playing Broly, and the other deck we had, in case Christian also doesn't top, was Frieza. Yellow, I think, which is like an aggro deck that's supposed to do well into Broly. I borrowed that to Pierluigi, Sorrentino, shout out to him. And yeah, we played the event. I won first 5 rounds, all green mirrors. I think 4 Brolys and 1 Androids, or whatever. And then I lost to some Polish players who came very well prepared for the event, actually. Probably aiming to take it down from the beginning. One of them on Gohan, and the other on some red deck I was supposed to beat if I see ramp, but they didn't see ramp, so my deck just kind of sucked that game. And Pierluigi tiebreakers came out. I was, I think, 9th and Pierluigi 10th, so we both got serial Gokus. It was nice. And then this weekend, there were 2 No Heroes online regionals, both in EBO1 format. And I was looking forward to them because some of the cards introduced in EBO1 are like massive improvements over what Sakazuki can do in OPO6, notably the Brook. And yeah, I ran a Brook-focused list with 3 Brooks, and I mean, you can see it on Twitter, the list. It's nothing crazy, but, Brook just gives you a lot more flexibility and plays going first, and gives you a lot of power over all the other decks in the meta. Like, it's good in the mirror going first, but then it's also really strong against everything else in the meta because he's like the blue ulti and basically super powered blue ulti because you can get back with Rebecca. And the whole point of the deck was like, it's so flexible, there's so many different lines you can take to get out of situations. Most notably have like so many ways to out opponent's Moria plus 4 cost, which is really important in the mirror. And that flexibility like really shine through throughout the tournament. I ended up placing 14th in the Saturday tournament, going 8-2. I had one loss in that turn where I just misplayed like 100% lethal, or like not 100%, but like my opponent would need 6 2Ks and 6 cards in hand to survive. And for some reason, I didn't take the game.
Black Hill Luffy, who also, I think he had 1 2K already on board, right?
He had 2. I think he put 1 or 2 Peronas and 1 or 2 Flampeys and 1 Perona. So it was just like, yeah, I just big boo-booed. Like, big boo-booed. Why did that happen? I had Gecko Moria and Lightsaber combos. So I could bottom deck 2 of his 5 costs, and I just, yeah, I don't know. But that guy, Fabian from Sweden, he ended up winning the event, going 10-0. So, it was still really good for my tiebreakers. So congratulations to him. And yeah. And then I think I just kind of bricked into Moria. And by the time I could try to come back with my 8-cost Moria plays, it was like, I think I had 4 Morias and some Rebeccas with like no targets in trash. And I tried to come back, but I didn't have any Rebeccas or stuff. So my plays were still very inefficient, and I ended up just getting run over. But it was like 8-2, great tiebreakers, so I got 14th place. I'm not gonna complain about that. And then Sunday went even better. I went 9-1, losing in round 3 to Tupao Arasil, who is I'm not sure if first or second place. Second place in Toulouse regional, which was also CBO1. And it was a pretty good match. I won die roll, if I remember correctly, but I had a slightly weaker opener. I remember what the problem was. The only removal I saw was Brook and Rob Lucci, and he bottom decked them both on site. So I just got outgrinded. And other than that, had some pretty good matches, some very wonky ones. Point being, end result 9-1 with good tiebreakers. So I squeezed in barely into top 8 as 8th place. Well, not barely. The difference between my tiebreakers and 9th place tiebreakers was like 5% or something. But yeah, that's a cereal and the new Big Mom prize card. And 2 Katakuris and 2 puddings. And I guess 2 finalist sets. I forgot they still do those for regionals. Overall, a great weekend. Honestly, after my dry streak, getting... Okay, Serial Goku, it's not the biggest accomplishment because the number of players at the event was kind of small and most people there were kind of going with the same vibes as Christian and I. Like, second option is Dragon Ball. If we don't perform at One Piece, we'll just get Dragon Ball Deck and try. So it wasn't the highest competition. But it still felt good to win something after not doing well. And then this weekend just tops it off with 2 good performances. So I'm very happy and good for my mental after not so good OPO6.
I mean, I definitely agree. I know that you, we're very happy with your performance lately, and I think this is a very good end of the season.
Well, not the end. We'll still see you guys true. In Milheim. In a few days' time, depending on when soon. This comes out.
Some of my family friends were, as we saw each other for the wedding and the birthday. We're asking to make some additional plans to go to the escape room, go see a movie and something like that. And they asked for next weekend, and I said, I'm going to Germany. And they asked me, well, does this ever stop? And I sent the meme from Breaking Bad, basically. The Heisenberg, standing.
I haven't watched. I'll just unplug. You can tell it to the.
He just says this train does not stop.
No spoiler free here.
Anyways,
am I safe?
You are safe. You were safe even before I said it. It's not a plot relevant thing. It's an iconic scene, but relatively iconic scene. Anyways, before we move on. Because a couple of people asked us. The 2 games we played were Veil of Eternity, which is a combo-based card game.
Vale.
Yeah, Veil.
No, not like Veil, like the bride's wail, or like whale as in a scream.
No, as a geographic thing, right?
L-E, yeah, like the valley thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a word, so.
A very, very cute, as I said, combo-based card game. Very akin to TCGs. You're basically making the most efficient combo you can. Cards, games that might relate to this are, Race for the Galaxy, for example. So they're a relatively smaller form, and all about making combos with cards.
And I made combos.
You did. I knew I liked it because I saw it in Essen a year prior, but it didn't have any European distribution because it's a game from Korea, I believe.
Where?
It got from Korea.
Uh-huh.
And it got quite a lot of buzz. Sold out at Essen, couldn't get it there. And I was really surprised that Renegade picked it up and got my copy there. And the other game we got, Hervé got on a whim because he really liked the packaging.
Yeah, so it was like, I don't have it with me because my plan is to have us play it after local, so I just left it at the local game store. But it's like this, like a old school pencil case where it's like fabric, and it was like that, but banana shaped and yellow. And the game is called Bananagrams. It's like anagram, like rearranging letters to form a word. And yeah, it's just a game with a bunch of letter tiles, which you get as a player. You have to arrange them in like a grid, like you would in a crossword puzzle, of actual words, and you have to spend all your tiles. And basically, the first person to arrange all the tiles into like an actual grid is the winner. It's a bit more complicated than that, but it's like a very fun game that, you know, rewards good knowledge of English, and you learn some new words along the way as you spell check stuff. I would say very fun, slower pace than I expected, given how frantically it was described in its product description on the packaging. But amazing packaging and quite nice to play. So yeah,
yeah, a bit more of an activity than a game, as a lot of board gamers would call it. It has a surprising amount of combinatorics in it, as in you really have to be creative to arrange, and you're constantly rearranging words, switching them out for new words.
Yeah, because you have a limited number of vowels, limited number of consonants, and you need to arrange them into real words, and you connect those words because it all needs to be a single grid.
Yep. I was very surprised. Her asked me, have I heard about the game? And of course I have. I'm a living encyclopedia of board games. If anything, like if I have to stake like my soul, my life on something, that would be board game trivia probably. And it's a relatively old game. I think 2006 it came out, something like that. It had decent reviews. But yeah, it was the packaging, the solace. But we ended up really enjoying it.
Packaging and the fact that it was at a very affordable price of like 11 or 12 pounds.
Something
so
like
I was
that.
like, sure. Because if it was like 40 pounds, I wouldn't buy it. I don't care how nice the packaging was. Yeah, very fun game.
Yep. Okay. And with that, let's move on to the main topic, which will be the updated tier list for OPO7. Do bear in mind, guys, this will be, and gals, and everyone else, this will be our prediction. We had very limited experience with OPO7. So this will mainly be what we believe from all of our meta knowledge, like understanding the cards, understanding the decks, absorbing some of the information coming to us from the East. And I hope you enjoy our op-ed regarding this. Okay, so the first things first is something changes in the tier 1.
Yeah. Wait. Well, I don't think can I make a new tier? I'm not usually a tier list. I'll just rename this to RIP, as we'll move all the other stuff from.
Yep. So Sakazuki gets banned, and I think a lot of people will just write him off as dead. But I think it's definitely valid to answer what happens to the new Sakazuki.
Yeah, the promo one. We'll get to that. Or do you want to start with that?
Yeah, I think it's excellent to start with that. Yeah, because it's one of the biggest changes in the meta, I think.
I'm not sure if there's a way for me to bring it up on screen right now, but I guess you can just say what his ability does. He's blue black for life, just as the original Sakazuki, but his ability is activate main, discard a navy card, and reduce the cost of something of your opponent's character by 1. And that's it. That's the only ability. Okay.
I will save my opinions for later. You are definitely the Sakazuki guy. Of course, people always easily push us into easily digestible forms. What I'm trying to say is, it's not like I'm the Gecko guy and you're the Saka guy. We both play all decks, and
we just have our preferences for big tournaments.
Yeah. You get to know us, sure, from our tournament performances, but we are full-time players. We dedicate a lot of time to this game, and that includes playing all the meta decks.
Yeah. So I'll try to be short. I'll probably do a more detailed take on it at some point in the future, because I do think there's some interesting like things that just the blue-black color combination always has. But as it stands right now, I don't think that leader will be worthy. I would put him in not worthy effort. Reasons being, 4 life black leaders are it's just a liability to be 4 life. That's like the first thing, and the reason Sakazuki can do it so well is because he has the cycle ability. Not because of the color combination, because the color combination itself doesn't win you games. You're still a 4 life leader no matter how good the color combination is. It is the cycling ability, which allows Sakazuki to get away with breaking a lot of fundamental rules of the game, where you only run 8 2Ks in the deck, a massive amount of non-counters, like usual list is 25 or 26 non-counters. That does not fly with 4 life leaders unless they can reliably find the counters that they need. And the only thing he got like compensated is a worse form of his cost reduction ability, because now it costs you a full card to reduce something by 1, which is just laughable. You can just play down a Tsuru, or just give an Ice Age for -5 cost, and now this turns any Navy card into -1 cost. That's such a bad trade that the value isn't there. Does the leader have potential off of the back of the color combination some point in the future? I mean, it never say never, but I just think the odds are not very good, because as strong as Rebecca and Moria are, you have to remember, this dual color leader with 4 life exists in the world of 5 life leaders, which are just mono black and have access to those same power cards, but they don't have the inherent vulnerability that a 4 life leader has. So there's very likely not going to be a reason to play the new promo Sakazuki. I will try to cook. I promise. I'll try to cook. But I already did some theory crafting and calculation, and it does not look like it will be anything relevant. I hope to be pleasantly surprised, though.
I think you hit all the main points. I also get that cycling is definitely the biggest issue with the deck, and what gave Sakazuki most of his strength. Like, the -1 on attack is definitely nice and works wonders in some matchups, but what you can get away in deck building, that's just insane, because all the strong plays involve a lot of non-counter cards, right? All the events, Moria, stage, and so forth, right? And without a good outlet to discard cards, I mean, black has some outlet to discard cards, right? There are some effects which require you to discard cards, but that's not good enough, as you are still losing cards, right?
You're still losing deck slots to cards which are now dedicated to cards to improve consistency, when you had the consistency in the first place. So yeah,
all in all, the package is seemingly not there, and to abuse the potential of blue-black. I said it before and I'll say it again. I would look into some funky Rebecca builds. Because it's not like you need a lot of blue cards, right? It's just the swords and the hound blade, right?
Yes.
And I think Rebecca can use both of them quite well. So, of course, she's quite deck limited with the number of Dressrosa cards she wants to run. But I think that there's definitely potential there. Anyways, let's put all the new leaders to their slots, and then we'll update the rest of the list. Vegapunk. I would put Vegapunk definitely in the not worth the effort. The problem is he's so card intensive. Having only 2 life is horrible. Should I tell you to stop? I would even push under.
But how far under? Because we get to these card inefficient leaders.
No.
He's not worse than Uta or Oden, I think. So.
Yeah. So the main thing you're doing with Vegapunk is converting a card into life, which converts into a body, right? So that's the equation you want to go through, right? Put a card into life, opponent attacks, you get a body. Several problems here. First, your leader for some reason does not attack. I mean, lower reasons are obvious, but having a leader which does not attack is a big downside. Having 2 life is a huge downside. Like, 2 life is insanely low. Sure, he can get life, but to get life, he needs to spend cards, which he already has a lack of, because he cannot get cards by taking life, right? So he's in this vicious cycle of his own making, where it's very hard to get ahead. Also, your opponent can slightly play around it. They don't really have to pressure if you have a trigger on the top of your life. They can just wait with 1 swing and then pressure. But from what I've seen, they don't even have to do that. They can just go deep into you, just disregard everything you're doing and pressure you. Because what are you going to do? Sure, you take the first life, you get the trigger. Now what? Are you going to take 1 life and go down to 1? Like, it's... not good. And then we can get to late game. Maybe try to stabilize using... Sure, on 10, you can do something like Yamato and then leader ability. I just don't see it. I was very eager to work on Vegapunk, but the math is just not there. What do you think?
I share a similar sentiment. I just think, first of all, starting with 2 life is like you lose. I'm not sure what percent of cards. It's like 20% of the cards you're supposed to see in a game at minimum, because if games go 5 turns, you draw 5 times. You're seeing 15 cards, and this just cuts off 3 of those immediately. And with how life works, where you have to defend it, you're effectively losing at least 6 cards. So, yeah, he just has access to very little resources in the to begin with, and he doesn't really have the card pool that makes up for that. Like, what he would need is more cards, which, yeah, sure, you put them into life, they trigger them, and then they generate some sort of advantage. And he has the guy that searches, and I think some KOs in there, but that doesn't really win your game if there's only like 12 or like 8 or 12 cards in the deck that do that. You need like very consistent access to all of those cards so you can just continue regenerating life and getting some sort of advantage out of it, because you're just going to run out of cards and not have the counters, and then it doesn't matter how good how stacked your life may be, you're just going to lose to like a very small amount of pressure. And currently there's decks that apply way, way, way more pressure than just a small amount. So yeah, I agree, not worth the effort. Probably somewhere, yeah. And place like, slightly higher, I think, but doesn't
he has
much.
The same issue with Iceberg without the addition of a lot of broken cards and having 5 life. And the fact that he's quite limited in his deck building with the cost of his units, right?
I just realized I need to scroll down for this to be visible.
He needs to play a lot of 5 costs, so he really needs a lot of support in that very specific cost slot, and they have to be typed. Like, there's so much going against Vegapunk. Maybe in the future. Okay, what about Boa?
Boa is probably the new premier blue control leader. By that, I don't necessarily mean she's very strong. I would sooner place her in like the lower end of need lots of love tier, and then adjust according to meta developments. Because blue, like, still has the same issue it had in the beginning. Like, the range of blue's removal increased in the sense that now you can remove 10 costs and whatever with red rock and stuff. But the efficiency of it has not really increased. You're still mainly trading a full card to remove a card your opponent played, and then you're just losing out on all the benefits that your opponent already gained from rush effects from on plays, from searches. And yeah, you're just slowly bleeding out cards and losing on board advantage, and then you have to try to recuperate with the big bosses that that Bull has, which are currently not that powerful and influential. Yeah, it's just like the two Kaidos, the Mihawk. I'm trying to remember if I'm forgetting some, but I don't think I am. It's just a lot of very inefficient cards. Like, I guess the best one is the Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, which removes 2 units, but as it turns out, it's not a meta where you can get, maximum use out of it, because sure, you remove 2 4 costs, but you paid basically the cost of those 2 4 costs to remove them, and you still didn't establish any board, and you're just gonna get swarmed again, because we have to remember, like, RP Law has ways to generate card advantage, has ways to swarm the board, and Black simply has Gecko Moria, which is, 1 card recipe for a full board. So yeah, I just don't think Boa currently has the efficiency to deal with the meta threats consistently, and if I had to place her, I'm having mixed feelings about how the Need Lots of Love tier ended up looking in the end. Probably here. Yeah. But I think we'll switch some of these around later anyways. What do you think, Christian?
Yeah, we'll definitely be updating these. I actually have slightly more hope for Boa because you are getting... The resource game looks appealing, and like what I'm trying to say is you still have additional effects which are kind of strong, as in Mihawk is a relatively strong card regardless, right? But now he also draws a card. I mean, sure, compared to Moria, maybe not, but...
Or to Ninebeard, or to...
Oh, actually, I mean...
Tenko's Mom.
I think now with Boa, he almost is comparable to Moria. He bottom decks a 7 cost and also draws a card. Drawing a card is almost like playing brand new Artashigi, right?
Yeah, you're just forgetting the little 4 cost on the board.
Yeah, that's a big part. Yeah, I'm struggling. I think it's gonna be playable for sure. Will it win a tournament? Not sure. I would lean on no. Mainly, Law seems quite dominant. And can Boa keep up with Law? Having 5 life is very valuable. But you're not just keeping up with what you play 3k worlds, take out one of his units, and sure, you get a card back, but he's just gonna keep swarming the board. Because sure, you have efficient removal, but he, in a way... How should I put it? He can... It almost feels like he can go into debt to accumulate a big investment, which is going to pay off later in the game. If that makes sense.
I mean, it's easier to say he's just too fast for what Boa's trying to do.
But the way he does it is by, like, inefficiently losing resources, somewhat inefficiently, to accrue advantage on the board, right? And can you overcome that? Not sure.
I mean, if it was just red purple, you could probably build till beat it consistently as a 5 life leader or semi consistently, but you also need to have game into Moria and Luchi, which I think is the bigger problem.
I would stay there. Okay. I have some opinions regarding Bonnie. I know that she won some tournaments in the West. In the East. And I've read the cards. I played a couple of games. I just don't believe in green, my dude. All the colors can handle Zora. Dofi is a slow card. You don't have any efficient removal. A cool card, and that's the only thing that's making me doubt my judgment, is the new Hawkins blocker. That card definitely has the potential to single-handedly make this a deck, I think. Now, how much weight do I want to put on that? Like, I never like decks which are so reliant on a single card. So I would rate Boa roughly the same as I rate. Bonnie roughly the same as I rate Boa.
Power Boa.
Probably higher. Hawkins is a very enticing card. We will be updating all the rest of the leaders, but she's definitely above Boa, I would say. But I would never consider her for a tournament as of now. From our limited testing, and as we said, what we know about the game and what we can predict with our knowledge. What do you think?
In principle, I agree. I don't think she's a tournament-winning deck. At least not, when it comes to like big proper tournaments, competitive ones in the West, where there's 1,000 players and you need like tons of consistency. And actually, in Swiss-only events, it might happen. I'm not beyond imagining it. It does feel a lot nicer than the previous green decks in that a lot of your strong cards have counters. That was when I was playtesting, it was like the biggest thing standing out. It was like, wait a minute, all these cards, have solid effects and they also counter. That kind of pops off. And then the leader ability is inherently very defensive and like hilariously efficient. Like 1 Don to arrest something. You're effectively trading 1 Don for amount of counter between 1k and as high as like 5k. Because she can
it kind of reminds you of NL, right? In the late game situations.
Sure, but yeah, she has 5 life and much more efficient bodies and cards than NL has. Because Yellow has the problem of the triggers being baked into their, power balance and power budget. So the cards themselves are actually kind of bad to play out. And Bonnie has a lot of, I think,
are they though?
Very efficient.
I would usually rather play Yamato than 9-cost Zoro. I really do not believe in 9-cost.
Those are the only good cards in the NL deck. There's like 5 turns before you get to...
Ace, Rationale.
I mean, it did get marginally better. But no, Ace doesn't have an effect in most matchups as NL anyways, because you don't enable Kingdom Come.
I mean, both Aces. The 5-cost and the 10-cost. Anyways.
Oh yeah, okay, 10-cost is coming out. But yeah, that top end is like the only good cards in NL usually.
Yeah, but what does Bonnie have aside from Hawkins?
Well,
where's that quality?
Cavendish Uruj, I'm not sure how his name is read, but the monk guy. Like he's 4/5 blocker, refunds 1 Don. Cavendish is just hilariously efficient and allows you for some stupid late game exploitation. She has the 8-cost kid, the classic. And like the best reusable searchers in the game, and the easiest time defending them.
I'm not sure how well Bonnie plays into 8-cost kid.
If you have Cavendish, very well. But like, even on 10, you can just play him, leave the 1 Don, like attach 1 Don, leave 1 Don for leader ability.
Sure, but she's
a 5-life green leader.
Usually, deal with that with one big swing, and you remove a blocker somehow, or you just remove the 8-cost kid. I don't know. Oh, like
she can run the entire kid protection package just fine. So
maybe
I think that's a strength that like already causes trouble for a decent bit of decks in the meta. Because, you know, if you have a kid protected by Rouge and, like, the little Rosinante, suddenly he's not that easy to kill. And Cavendish can set it up as early as turn 4.
if he survives. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, I'm also not rating her, like, very highly in the beginning because I'm pretty sure red-purple matchup is a big struggle. And black has probably the harder time removing Cavendish, but there's still lines that you can take. Most
I
notably,
mean, is she better than Uta?
Uta?
Film Uta.
I would say yes. But I think we'll be moving Uta down.
I agree so as well. Okay.
I mean...
What about Luchi?
I mean, how did we define Dark Horse? If it's just might win a tournament, I think she definitely has a chance in, like, Swiss-only tournaments. Bonnie, I mean.
We'll get to that after we start rearranging stuff.
Luchi. Okay, Rob Lucci, the successor to Sakazuki. When attacking, has the same -1, and then trash 2 cards from top of deck. So it's a bit of a combination of Sakazuki's and Moria's abilities, except he's a 5-life leader with, of course, the Cipher Pull typing, which is relevant for a decent number of cards like Spandam, the one-cost searcher, and NIS Lobby. Would I rather have Tashigi Blue or Spandam in my deck? Well, obviously Tashigi Blue, but what can you do? The nature of the colors that he has to work with means that he's mainly going to be played with a CP engine, because when you think about how Sakazuki is built and how Moria is built, almost all the good cards you use to enable your removal are Navy. Great Eruptions, like the prime example that's shared between both decks. But for Sakazuki specifically, there's Rob Lucci, and then all the other removal is Navy, Blue. So that's all the cards that Rob Lucci doesn't have access to, and all that he's left with are all those decently inefficient cards in, like, Kobe from OPO2, Sakazuki from OPO2, which, you know, Sakazuki might have its place as a way to remove 5-cost kid on curve and whatnot. But the point is, this deck will
you do have
to...
Kaku?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if you go to the Cipher Pull engine, you have Rob Lucci, which is already run in every deck, and you have the Kaku as the consistent removals that you can search for, and you also have the new Brook, which you can run as a Rebecca target. And if you're so inclined, you can even maybe look into Absalom, because this leader will have an easy time fueling even his requirement. Where do I see him placed as a spiritual successor to Sakazuki? Well, he's a 5-life black leader, has access to the best card in the game. I think he's a very, very strong tier 1 contender. Candidate for the best deck in the format, and the biggest issue he is going to face is the black yellow Luffy with his Sabo spam. What do you think, Christian?
I think you disregarded Stussy, right? That's the card name, I think. I think she trashes a card, right? She doesn't, or she just trashes one of yours to KO one of theirs.
I'm not sure because I'm not playing her, but
that card seems somewhat relevant. The card functions. The deck will function quite differently than both Sakazuki and Moria, because he needs a little bit more setup to start rolling. Seems quite reliant on Annie's Lobby. And also, Annie's Lobby looks like a pretty insane card. Like having a 1 reduction on the leader and a 2 reduction on the board, basically, makes him very interested in going late, as he has a lot of value to gain through sheer efficiency, right? coupled with the fact of playing Moria. How much do we have to rely on Navy Agent? We'll see. I think the lobby does a lot. And there's a new event in Cypherpole, right?
Draw a card and if you have
Eruption.
Then, wait, which
15,
one is
I
which?
think.
Yeah, and -3. If you play normal. Might be the other way around, because I think it's the other way around.
I think that Ice Age will definitely find a place in the deck. On the other hand, if you play Sakazuki, the 6th cost, maybe you can get away without running. Because with Sakazuki, lobby and the leader, you can KO a 8 cost, which deals with most of the threats. And with just the event and the leader, you can KO the 9 cost Zora.
Yeah, I think if you're dealing with threats at that point in the game, you're probably just playing down Sabo anyways. Because he is pretty important to, removing 2 things from Lola's board. And we'll get to RPO, but obviously he's the big bad of the upcoming formats. And the cards which deal with that are always welcome. And that's obviously Rob Lucci and Sabo taking out 2 for 1.
And I also believe that it seems, at least to me, that so definitely Law struggled into Moria. And I think it's gonna be even worse into Luchi, as he has more access to double removal. He's slower somewhat, so no KO on 4.
I think the big part you're forgetting is there's no 5k body on 3 that also kicks a card out of your hand. That's usually how Moria gets the ball rolling. But with the eruption ban, the early game for Law against Blade deck frees up a fair bit.
Yeah.
Because that's a massive loss in efficiency. You just unconditionally -2 draw a card and you just KO with anything.
All I'm saying is a lot of my fate in putting Lucci in tier 1 is that even with the eruption ban and everything, I still believe it's going to be a positive matchup into Law. And Law looks like to be definitely a force to be reckoned with. So, definitely tier 1 deck. Okay, the man, the myth, the legend, the most hyped leader since OPO1, like since the inception of the game. People have been clamoring for this dude. I don't even know what's his name.
Foxy.
Foxy, yeah. Cue the usual joke. Does Christian even read One Piece? Okay, so Foxy. Foxy has an interesting effect. He has access to a lot of cool cards. They've been... I think 2 colors have been really pushed recently. Black, of course, and the other being purple. Dude, that Reiju card keeps me awake at night.
Yeah.
And Foxy has a cool effect. He's 5 life. Has some decent typing support. Like, it just seems like an all-around good deck. I see no real experimentation from him. From all I've gathered, I think he definitely can get there with some work. But I will still put him in. Needs lots of love. Now, whether that love is some deck building on our side or just additional support down the line, we'll have to see. What do you think?
I think base level, his leader ability, has a lot of promise. Just it's inherently quite powerful, but obviously I haven't tested it. Like it hasn't been on the radar really. I just haven't gotten the impression that most of his cards are good. I know a few of his cards that are interesting to me for reasons regarding other leaders, but actually as a Foxy engine, like Foxy deck itself, without just being an engine, I was not impressed with how the cards look. Once again, I didn't give them their due diligence. I might down the line. And to be fair, his leader ability is a decent bit expensive. Like -3 Dawn is not something you can afford until the late game. And I feel unless you can solve the issues that other meta decks present to you until the late game, you're not going to be having a good time. Because if you're just playing a vanilla leader until turn 5, it doesn't matter that it's purple, you're going to get run over. And if there's no cards in your deck to mitigate that fact, I think you'll end up looking at quite a weak leader. So my placement will be pretty low, somewhere in this territory. I'm undecided just because I haven't given him any proper testing, but I'm not thrilled at all.
I think he's far better than that, but I guess you just have to let me prove you wrong in the test.
Just tell me where you want him.
I mean, I think he's at least... I would put him under Boa, probably, but not
Wait,
a lot.
Here?
Mm-hmm. Under Rebecca, probably.
What?
But,
okay.
For example, I would say it's better than Queen, yes.
Better than Magellan? Or...
Mm-hmm.
No way. I mean, okay. Viewers will note that we disagree heavily on our placement.
But as I said,
yeah.
One of us will be proven wrong during testing. And it will probably be me. Because, I mean, people had enough time to test the deck out. And usually, if a deck doesn't do anything, like, this is not Magic the Gathering or some other card game where you can be extremely creative in your deck building. One Piece is often just about the raw efficiency of the cards, right? And a lot of... what I'm trying to say is... sure, the guys and girls in the West, in the East, sorry, I keep messing this up, may miss some cool interactions, but just the raw stats of all the tournaments can be used as a really good baseline of just straight up power level of cards, right?
Yeah. Like you have to assume they know what they're doing.
On top of that. And if something is not doing it, then usually the cards are just not there. At least something somewhere, right? So there is some skepticism, but I'm looking at the cards and I think something can be done here. It gives me similar vibes to Iceberg, as in, it seems like the pieces are there, and that with enough love, something can be done. Probably a different approach to the game as well. But we'll have to wait and see. So this is where my gut would be saying, but it's still a prediction for the meta as a whole. And for that, I would put him lower. Just put him at the top of noteworthy effort, and we'll call it that.
Nah, you'll go with that. I still think he's like... I think there's a few good cards in the Foxy theme, but they're not good for Foxy. They're good for purple. But it's fine. It's it's nice when we disagree sometimes instead of just repeating the same opinion. Next up is Dragon, the new red leader. He has an aggro effect where you just take 2 Dawn, which are given to something, so like attached to a character or a leader, and then move them somewhere else. So it's a different type of Dawn efficiency compared to something like Starter 1 Luffy, or I'm sure there are other examples, I'm just blanking. And it's a lot, like, it's 2 Dawn, but it's less efficient. Why is it less efficient? Well, because you need to spend those Dawn on attacking in the first place, and you can make it more efficient by having effects which attach those Dawn, and of course Red has a few of those, and then you move those Dawn around, get like extra mileage out of those effects. But I think usually the problem is that the card you played commits some amount of its power budget to that Dawn attach ability. You know, it loses efficiency elsewhere to have it. So the fact that you're recouping that inefficiency doesn't really mean much, because like you're basically just getting to base level, and then you're effectively playing a vanilla leader which gets extra use out of a specific set of cards, and it's not like even the greatest use. Because I think ultimately if you're playing mono red and you wanna be the aggro, the premier options are always going to be Whitebeard and Zoro specifically. And this to me just seems like a weaker Zoro, because yeah, we're looking at a 5-life leader, and there's nothing in this card pool that's like particularly interesting. I'm trying to remember if any of the red cards besides Koala.
I mean, he's
had
a
leader
Rebel Army.
lock. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to remember if there's anything besides Koala. Oh yeah, Karasu, I guess.
And the new crazy Ivankov 5/6 brings out another unit from deck.
That one's iffy, because a lot of the cards you want to run as red aggro are not going to work with Ivankov, unless you like full commit into... We talked about this with the percentages when you were looking at 3 cards, how hard you have to commit into the...
It's usually something around...
Like the big deck. The big deck building cost involved. So...
And, like especially here... It's like a small investment, like 1 Dawn or 2 Dawn for a searcher, and it misses. Like, sure. 5 Dawn, not to hit something. That's a bigger cost. What I'm trying to say is, right? So it's even more so in your interest to go deep into whatever army. And I mean, you have a searcher in Rival Army, so like the package is coherent.
But it kind of sucks. Like, there's a reason there's been no Rival Army engine in any of the red aggro decks really making an appearance.
No, so, I agree. I'm just saying that the cards are interesting.
Somewhere here. Like, he's definitely weaker than Red Yellow Sabo in my mind, because Red Yellow Sabo has some really cool stuff he can do, and Dragon really doesn't.
Fair. Yeah. Okay. And the last one, is that starter?
Yeah, that's the Luffy from the starter deck for 13 or 14. 14, I think.
I think 14, yeah. I think we're gonna leave that for later time.
I think it releases sometime during... Like, he's not going to be influential enough for us to have to skip him for now.
I'm definitely gonna say that I've done no thinking about him, and didn't even read the cards.
Okay. Fair enough.
So,
then
I wouldn't give you anything of substantial value. Okay, let's do some rearranging.
Okay, first of all, is there anything you see in the not worth the effort tier that you would maybe move upwards? That's, I think, where it makes the most sense to start. We might have a real quick no as an answer as I look over the tier.
I mean, I'm thinking about Sabo. But
I'm thinking Oden. Maybe.
What does Oden get?
Well, if Red Purple is really popular, he's the Whitebeard.
The Otama Searcher, right, as well.
Yeah, like the one of consistency and just being a Whitebeard stat leader in Red Purple on meta. Like, I think pushes him up slightly.
Makes sense. Sure. I can see that. Is he? I mean, I actually streamed some of my testing with Oden, and yeah, the coolest part was the interaction with the Be My Samurai, right? And then just valuing out with the leader ability.
Yeah, and you're obviously just trying to get the leader ability online as soon as possible, and he already now has even more targets if you run Mountain God. So,
And I think, definitely the Dama Switcher helps, but honestly, I would still not put him above, not worth the effort.
Yeah, just like here-ish.
Yeah, sure, we can bump him up for sure. I would even bump up Sabo-san.
Which one?
The new one, the starter deck one. He gets an additional Luffy, yellow.
Yep, a really good one on that.
Yep. Spoiler alert, I think all the starter deck leaders are gonna get a bump. Sabo will get... Ace will get a significant bump, I think. Okay. Enough with that. What about needs lots of love?
Yeah, so I think we can start from the back, just because...
You know what? I actually propose that we add another tier, because I think the middle is very cramped.
Okay,
other row below.
Yeah. What are we calling this?
I don't know, close?
What?
Close, like...
Okay. I think that's way too much, fragmentation, but we can roll with it.
I just like additional granularity, as specifically as there are so many of them. Anyways.
Okay, sure. Let's start from the back. I think Doflamingo is quite neatly placed because he gets a decent bit of new support in OPS 7, and we know we'll be getting more in the starter deck something. I don't know the number. Probably 16, if I had to guess. No, 17 because it would be the blue one. But that doesn't matter for now. His support in OPS 7, I think it's the greatest. It has some really neat 2Ks, some very nice efficiency plays, and he definitely gets bumped up a few spots. But I wouldn't.
Jimbe comes out in OPS 7, right?
Yeah, and Crocodile and there's cool cards, but it's this territory for me still.
Mm-hmm. I would still say he needs lots of love, and we can bump him up slightly. Yeah.
The next up, Kiros, the black and yellow combination. He doesn't really get anything much his way. In fact, he loses off the ban list because he cannot play eruptions anymore. He can even reject as a tech isn't an option as a removal, and all the good black support from OPO 7 is focused on a removal before cost reduction, which makes it kind of redundant with his leader ability. So
what we're looking for that deck is some really cool and efficient cost reduction, right?
Yeah, and he's not really getting that, so I would just leave him where he is.
Yep.
Still a tier above these, not even worth meddling with, but not shining brightly.
Below it, there is some additional Revo army support. And
I think Dragon is the most notable card.
And it still doesn't feel like enough. I still believe into what we said here, that she's the better Revo leader. Sure, she has one less life, but that ability, turning one card into 9 Dawn, that's very, very explosive. She struggles. She like when we bumped Iceberg a significant amount. That's because he got 2 very efficient cards which tackle the main problem of the deck. That's not what happened to Bella Betty. She didn't get she didn't get anything which fixes the flaws of the deck, right? She didn't get any strong develop options. She didn't get any strong
So there was
options.
the Ivanko in EVO one, but that's why she's
Yes.
here in the first place. So
Yeah. Like if we got another Ivanko level card, then we'll be talking. But now I would, yeah, it's still maybe not a relevant deck, but a deck you should be mindful of. That's it.
yeah. Next up is
Same thing for Iceberg. I don't think that anything changes
Yeah.
specifically.
Law is.
He gets the small Zora.
Hey, remind me, what's the small Zoro?
Something on attack. I'm not sure what needs to happen. You need to have.
Oh, the 2K or
I think he's 1K. But he gets bumped to 4K or something if you have enough characters or something.
okay. I don't think that like all lists have been like really tight on space since forever,
Yep.
and I don't think
Yep.
any low cost units which are so low impact will make those lists anytime soon.
I mean, it makes you slightly more aggressive, but you still have the same problem, and that is you just cannot keep up with Luchi. Basically, the any effect which removes 2 bodies, you just don't have a way to deal with that.
It doesn't even have to be 2 bodies because early turns just removing 1 body is already, you know, it might put your, like, removing 1 body puts you back, your shambles back 1 turn, removing 2 next turn, then maybe just completely screws you. Because it is still a deck that is kind of at the mercy of its draw. You do need to see a lot of your 1-cost searchers, your Dadons, your Namis, your Bonnies, and fill up the board efficiently, because if you're just playing down units to shambles, you're losing cards from hand, you're getting pressured. It doesn't work out very nicely.
Yep. Queen? You know what? I would actually put Queen under Bella Betty.
Even though he gets some new support.
As some new support, but against Bella Betty, I can see myself losing. Like, if they put some very early pressure, I don't see removal.
Are we considering the matchup between these 2 leaders, or their
No, like in
as
general.
well?
Like I'm imagining me playing a tournament and being matched into one of these. And I'm really not scared of Queen, but a lot of things can happen in a Bella Betty matchup, I think.
That's true. Actually, I see what you mean, yeah. Especially as we are entering a more... Like, control tools get better and better, and then Queen as the old guard of control, which has to play on very low hand size, it doesn't really get to have fun. And the new support that heals in form of 10-cost Ace, well, it locks him out of his lead ability for the turn, so it's not shining there either. Next up,
we talked about
Red Yellow Sabo, we moved up. Okay, Rebecca is interesting. This is something I talked about with some Japanese players very briefly, but I had some ideas because of Sakazuki's banning, like she's the next best black and blue option. And I was thinking about some builds where her ability is where you don't really go too hard on Dressrosa cards and you just use her ability as a 1-don, fill up trash a bit, maybe get a card out of it, because you would still run like the good stuff, the Rebecca's, maybe some Mancheries and Sabos.
Probably Kiros as well.
Obviously,
Kiros is a pretty good card.
Yeah, Kiros, because he's your leader. And obviously the 2Ks where you can sort them.
Mm-hmm.
And then just try to build around some other engine. I haven't really thought much whether it should be Navy, though that is the one I prefer more, or Cypherpole. And just try and go with that color combination and be a really strong control deck. I think if there's a lot of black in the meta, like her ability to just bottom deck stuff and have access to those silly blue tools that currently Sakazuki abuses becomes quite prominent. And then the question is, does her not having the ability to attack make her too slow? Because ultimately you do need to... You can assume your board will be dealt with to some degree. And then the question is, can you deal with the opposing board when you are not able to attack to strip their cards?
You have access to Complays, and then even your little searchers can actually do some pressure, right?
Yeah, but her cost reduction options are much more restricted than Sakazuki's, because
True.
she cannot afford as many non-counter cards, being... if you take a hit you shouldn't take, it could knock you out of leader ability and completely like throw off your next few turns as you try to spend cards from hand. And there's no hyper efficiency in greater options, so you kind of have Orambus, Laboon, those types of cards.
I mean, the new Cyberpole card works nicely with her because she can very easily fill trash, right?
Yeah.
Ice Age is also always a great option. And also, especially in the low meta, right? There's a lot of rested bodies, so the Colosseum gets a lot of value. Because you can just keep swinging into the board.
Yeah, if you develop it, yes. It's a question of whether Law can just overrun the board because you're not attacking into him. But that also goes the other way. He's not getting free cards from you hitting his life in the first turn or two, or even for a while.
And then once he has units, you actually swing into the units, right?
Yeah, so if it becomes a bottom decking race, I'm not sure I would bet on Rebecca, just because once you lose all your Kiroses and stuff, only Luffy really works. And all the cards that Rebecca would like to run, like Sabo and Borsalino to help out against Black, are non-existent against Law. I mean, we will cook with Rebecca. I think she's alright where she is in the tier list, and I think she shows some promise, but I'm not going to be recommending her to anyone to start with. Maybe if we discover something down the line.
Yep, but I would definitely push her up a bit. Like 3 spots up, I would say. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Reiju.
No, Doflamingo.
Oh, Luffy. I mean, Birdcage is a card, right?
Yep.
That's a pretty cool card versus Law, right?
Does it look 5 costs or 4 costs?
5 costs, more or less.
I mean, it's kind of cool against Black Yellow Luffy then as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he can work around it with Sabos, but then you can also work around it with minusing, right? You can delay the effect of Birdcage. Anyways, that's a cool angle, and especially relevant in this meta. He got some support. Like, I don't think you'll see a lot of him, if any.
Honestly, I was just thinking about moving him down a bit, but...
I mean, I would definitely put him under Sabo, even, I believe. But I would prefer him over the Blue Doffy, personally. Like, I think there's more play in that leader.
Yeah. If you're doing the same judgment as you did with Betty, where it's like you sit down across one of these leaders, you're probably more concerned if it's green-purple Doffy, just because, yeah, that cage cheese into like chain 10 costs is... There's some frightening stuff that can happen quite easily.
Yep.
Then next up, Reiju. So
I'm this close to putting her into noteworthy effort.
Wait. We are once again heavily disagreeing.
I know. We talked a lot about. So the situation was, we're in the car, and you're in the front. I was thinking about in whose lap am I sitting while we're discussing this. It was Yu, I think, right? And we discussed the Foxy Pirates splash, which kind of makes the deck hyper aggro, but I don't think it gels well with Law. And the fact that Law becomes so much more prevalent, I think, kills the deck. I'm really having trouble seeing it. Yeah, convince me otherwise.
I think it's a strong power up to the deck because it does give you a shot into Law. That's like the first thing. If you go Porsche into ECG and you still find a card and you draw a card and now you're suddenly threatening him very early. Like, yeah, he's still going to make your stuff vanilla eventually, but it's going to take longer. You will get some uses of the leader effect. You will have a better time swarming the board. I just think you get a chance in the matchup, and you still have an engine that is quite strong in all the other matchups because purple strength is the swarm, and if your opponent cannot deal with the swarm, you just punish them relentlessly because you go so wide, you draw so many cards that you defend the board relatively easily. And I think Reiju is, to me, one of those decks that I think will catch a lot of people off guard if somebody just commits to playing her with Foxy Pirates, Porsche, Chopper, and Gina or Gion. I don't remember what the 2K is called. Just an extra bit of explosiveness, consistency. I don't know. To me, it seems like a strong power up, and I think she will have better chances doing well in OPS 7 than she does in EBO1, because in EBO1, Law is also popular, but so is Sakazuki, who demolishes her.
I think Law will be. I think Law will be more popular in OPS 7.
Yes, but you will have a fighting chance into him. Like, currently, you cannot beat Law in EBO1. In OPS 7, there's chances, and I think that's what counts.
Okay, fair. You want to leave her as is?
I mean, I would move her up slightly. Like, if I'm thinking purple Luffy, Ivankov, okay, somewhere here, probably.
Sure.
Like, these are all leaders I would much less rather play than Reiju.
I mean, are we now talking about moving it to close tier?
I was thinking about it, yeah. Because I'm not sure how we're going to separate the tiers. Like, at some point, I imagine we have to... Okay, sure. She'll probably end up at the bottom of the close tier, but let's have her there.
Mm-hmm. And I think I would start moving stuff into close tier somewhere around Boa and Rebecca. Something like this. Yeah. Now, Ace. I really do have high hopes for Ace. So the whole idea of the deck is, as long as you can keep pulling off your leader ability and popping off, being 7k, you have some crazy efficiency there. And you just got 2 additional hits. So you almost doubled your chances of hitting.
Sorry, what's the hit besides Luffy? I'm breaking.
I think it's, isn't a blue ace coming up here somewhere?
Yeah, the blocker, yeah. I was thinking yellow. But yeah, the blue blocker ace.
I mean, not only that. This leader almost hard counters Law. Like, Law really struggles into higher than 5k leaders, right?
I won't say really struggles, but yeah, they do present a problem, especially when they can be very aggressive, as Ace aims to be.
Pudding is a card, right? So, I'm considering a dark horse here.
You think it could win a tournament?
I think it has the potential to.
To win a tournament?
Yep. It has trouble into Black Yellow Luffy, right? I mean, Pudding is a card. Pudding almost single-handedly wins that matchup, right?
Yeah, but that's Black Yellow Luffy specifically. Like, there's the black decks.
Okay, Law. Law is a very good matchup. black, I mean, you just have a lot of pressure, very efficient bodies. Like, your bodies cost 2.
Yeah, but I'm thinking you have very efficient. You have a very good matchup into law, like 70% of the time, and then 30% of the time your leader is whiffing, and you're not getting the 7k, and you're just getting run over.
Are we really? If I remember, the chances of whiffing on 5 cards, if there's 20 hits in the deck,
you need to hit the guy, and you need to have the kid in hand.
The one you also have in hand, right? Yeah. True. But even then, like, even if you're whiffing, you're still probably at least healing. You can play Hyori, you can play Fampe. Then you're drawing 2 cards, right, of your leader ability. I mean, 1 card, right?
Yeah, there's only a Sanji's peel off.
Yeah. So even if when you're whiffing, you're still doing stuff. I don't know. I as I said, I have high hopes.
But you think he can win a tournament?
I think there's potential for
10 rounds. Yeah. And he needs to win. Well, to win Swiss only, it needs to be 10 wins. To win Swiss plus BO3, it needs to be at least 8 wins, and then...
I'll definitely put some time into testing. Like, active time into testing.
Dark Horse.
Not Foxy testing. It's...
I mean, I'll respect and I'll give it the top of close, but...
Fair?
Dark Horse is... I don't know.
Purple Luffy.
Oh, you started... you introduced him, so I thought you would be the one...
sorry, no. Go for it.
Explaining his stuff. He doesn't really get anything that supports him this set. Am I forgetting something? Like, Sanji is really good for law, but doesn't really do much in a leader that doesn't don minus. Foxy engine... I don't think it has any value in there, because the best play in the deck D-Rams, and you can make up for it by going Porsche into Bonkley, but I don't think that makes the cut. So yeah, I don't think any of the new support is relevant. I would probably even move him down, just because... I mean, I guess he can do decent into all these top leaders that we expect. Like, if he has 7-cost Kid, or just swarms the board hard against Red Purple, there's game there. Magellan can suppress black decks.
Yeah, I mean...
maybe... Actually, no.
If you remember my talk from Toulouse, the deck I almost lost to was Purple Luffy, who played to Magellans.
Yeah. The more I think about it, the more I want to put him into one of these tiers. That was
probably not Dark Horse.
But he does seem to be very well positioned into what's coming in the meta.
That's the thing, yeah. His main issue was Sakazuki, right?
Sakazuki and Houndblaze and Murakumo.
Houndblaze, yeah, bottom decking in general, right? And, I mean, Boa presents some bottom decking, but Magellan is just kind of busted card. And I don't know, what I'm actually looking for is the new top end in OPO 8. I think that's where I'm putting a lot of my faith in. Like, dude, that 9-cost mom will do wonders for this deck.
Yeah, so let's think about it. Like, you now have a lot more consistent way of opening up to Poly without sacrificing too much life. And Poly is going to be pretty good into both Moria and Red Purple and Luchi. Well, variable into Luchi. And then once you get to Tendon, which Poly gets you if you resolve him, and you start spending Magellans and really suppressing your opponent's turns, I don't know, that sounds pretty good.
I think it's far stronger if you start early Magellans and black decks just look at you.
Possible. Yeah, I guess because they can never KO him. But if you had to choose between playing Magellan, and I guess Poly isn't the alternative. But then you're going down to 4, then you're ramping next turn, and then you can Poly. Yeah.
Then you can Poly next turn.
Yeah, but the problem is all the lines have developed around Sakazuki existing, and Sakazuki being the deck you play Purple Luffy against. So, I mean, we'll definitely test this. Like, the more I think about it, the more kind of excited I am for testing this. Mildly because I got an alt art of the leader a bit ago. Not the super fancy PSA one, so I might look into it if this turns out to be crazy. We'll let you know, and we might go for the really fancy alt. But yeah, I mean, and if you run 7-cost kid, go to 6K. That's another problem for Law. So it's a question of how much does Black Yellow Luffy punish you by existing. You can run Blocker Law to discard his hand, because once you ramp to 10, you Magellan him, yeah.
Laughs into that deck. That deck really wants to get to 10 time.
I'm just gonna say, if we leave him in close, I will feel really bad about it, and do my best to prove ourselves wrong.
But I agree. I think we should put him on the list. I'm slowly getting converted as well. Yeah, and it's all on the back of Magellan. I think he's always been a cool card, and basically only hampered by bottom deck existing, and now we are unleashed.
And you can go back to the old decks. I guess Red Purple still has bottom deck, but you're not going to play for Magellan against Red Purple. That's
yeah.
And you even could, like, depending on how aggressively
why not
shambles us.
But yeah, ideally versus them, you just go
Poly 5 cost, 5 cost.
Yeah. The problem is they can still easily remove the 6K 5-cost units, right?
One of them.
But then we actually have a very good line of 7-cost kids, which was a card we cut from the list solely because of Sakazuki.
I mean, Robochi will be able to out him in the same way as Sakazuki did. I guess not exactly the same way, because there's less...
while true, it will work wonders versus Law.
Yeah, and I'm thinking as Black decks, you can go back to the Kamazo tech. Like, it's another body, they simply... If they touch it, they lose board. It does de-ramp you. So you don't want to drop in too early, but, when you have a board of stuff, they're not allowed to attack. And it's especially relevant if they play the new Sabo, and they want to, kill 2 things. Well, what if your 3 things on board are 2 Magellans and Kamazo? What do they do then? That's an extra dead card in hand they cannot play, they cannot counter with. Yeah, it will be interesting to test this. Yeah, I didn't really think about it until now.
I mean, there's some additional considerations, like the deck can very easily fall to 2 life, and Kid and Killer is turned on sooner than you'd like, probably.
Yeah, against Red Purple specifically, I would have to focus on card ramp, Bonclay, Poly. Maybe ramp once. Because, especially on the going first curve, there's not really much benefit to ramping and playing something on 4, just because against Lola specifically it's going to be bottom decked so easily.
No, you definitely do that. If you're ramping, you're definitely ramping as soon as possible.
But if you ramp twice against Lola, you're cooked. Cooked. Because presumably, if he...
It's the same thing. You will turn that ramp into enough of an advantage across the game that it's worth it.
I mean, we'll test and see. It's definitely possible. He has potential. That's why we're putting him here. Might end up higher in the future, because we'll revisit this in a few months' time.
Okay, what about Ivankov? Funky deck, cool deck, but...
His 2K counters are better. I think he might do... solid into Law.
Oh, definitely. I think...
really good into Black Yellow Luffy. But I think black decks remain a problem.
Yep.
Especially as removal gets more consistent. Or no, not more consistent, but Luchi will have quite a few options with higher reach than Sakazuki did, and then suddenly your Inazuma just dies to leader attack stage Kaku.
Yep.
I mean, would I move him up or down? Maybe down, like here?
Yeah. No, definitely on above law, yeah. Feels right. Nami?
Oh, I hate Nami so much. I feel like she should never win,
As I said,
and I saw...
I did lose the last twist round to
Yeah,
Nami.
but you misplayed. You got baited by Isho being in your hand. We went over this. I think.
And he didn't have a lot of solitaire options. It was a
and you hit the two worst cards in his hand with the Isho, I think, because he had the Deathwing and the Beam. You didn't hit either of those. You just hit some one-cost event and something that's not solitaire either. So it was unfortunate.
And he had the last Pilaf in hand. That was his play on his turn. Yeah.
I mean, I would just leave her as is. Actually, I mean, if we have a close tier, she might be in the close tier. Actually, this is where we're moving.
I think so. Like, if I saw Nami at higher tables, I wouldn't be surprised. I would be surprised if she wins a tournament, but like if you're 6-0 or something and you play versus Nami, I wouldn't be baffled.
Yeah.
Okay, Lakers Croc.
I feel like that's more up your alley. So.
Oh, for sure. Like the thing he struggles the most is getting more support, basically. The Black Swarm, it's a deck which really doesn't want to play versus whiteboards. He will benefit a lot of... For example, if Bonnie was all the rage, I think Croc would be a very good deck. With all the black running
how does Croc out Ninko Zoro? Does he run Kingdom Come?
Sure, you can do that. Or you can just leave him on the board, like it's...
And he goes zap, 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 zap.
You have a come away.
I mean, yeah, once. Twice, and then you die.
I mean, you come away into Anokiko, right? And then he can keep attacking your face. And you have all access to new ace. I would just leave him in this tier, I think.
Okay, I think Bonnie was placed before we made a new tier, so where do we move her up in close?
Yep. I would
see.
Sure. Like Hawkins is a card. Yeah. Perona. Perona has some cool new tools. The new Vana on the back of the Samurai event, right, is a very cool engine to produce value. And then you add all the good stuff she had before. Then you add to that she works quite well versus law, as almost everything is 4 cost, and your Ryuma is a perfectly strong removal for that. She's probably in the close tier. Like,
yeah, I definitely agree. Right,
is she near the top? Is she even Dark Horse? I think you run too many non-counter cards, and you can easily just get overrun by law, I think.
So, yeah, it's
just
not the leaders at
top of close, I would say.
Well, let me just give my opinion first. She's definitely the leader I've been most hyped about for OPS 7. Just because once that build by Shuge came out, where it's Land of Wano and running the Samurai, I was like, oh, this looks so fun. And it is very fun to play. When it works, it feels so good. You have access to an insane number of cards. You feel very powerful. But yeah, the there's still some mild consistency issues, and as I mentioned when we were talking about promo Sakazuki, you're a 4-life leader, and I really cannot overstate how deceivingly important that is, because it doesn't seem that big, because we had a lot of like good 4-life leaders in the metas of the past. But as time goes on, like those 4-life leaders like really need to be doing something insane to stand up to the meta. Like even just looking at OPO8 results from like the recent tournaments, like initial expectations for Marco were probably too high, but for King it seemed like, black purple, like good abilities, there's some promise there, and now he's doing nothing, and it's just because he's a 4-life leader. By the time you get to play the game the way you want it, you're already in a losing position. And Perona definitely has some of that. And also has the same issue of Black Yellow Luffy as all the other black leaders currently. There is Law isn't a free win. Like,
Nope.
I'm not even sure it's
Definitely not.
favored, honestly. I haven't tested the matchup itself that much. I know the theory behind it. I know that Sabo is supposed to help you clean up board decently well, and you just have enough cards to defend, blah blah blah. But it's not a natural counter or something that naturally meshes well against a Law strategy. So I agree with Close, and I'm not even sure I would put her above Bonnie, honestly.
Consider the following. You can play the game without ever touching Law's life. You just keep hitting his board.
Yeah, but that doesn't sound... Like, he just needs 2 Reijus and that strategy doesn't work anymore. It just falls apart and you lose. Because it is how you play the matchup. You don't give him gas early.
No,
but
I mean,
sees like 2
you do
Reijus,
attack,
2
but
Queens, and
the
you're
fact you can
doomed.
always attack board sounds very appealing. And add to that Ryuma cleanly clears almost every card.
Yeah, but I wouldn't rate her above Bonnie, because Bonnie has like... She can still beat Law. It's difficult, but it's beatable. But then there's Black Yellow Luffy, which... Like, Bonnie just destroys. While Perona, you get Saboed. And then your best hope is resting all the Sabos somehow, or 1 or 2 Sabos, and swinging big with the Moria. That's not reliable.
Fair. Okay. What about Yamato? I think that Yamato was.
I mean,
better.
she got the same package that Perona got. That makes it interesting. Like, you run the Samurai Wano package.
I would definitely lean a lot into that. I always thought that Momo is a pretty cool card. And that's how I would prefer to play Yamato. Some kind of almost a mid-range deck, where you're constantly threatening lethal, but you don't have to go all in, right? Maybe cut a little bit on the Hody Jones, cut a little bit on the Amarus and everything, and then add a lot of Vano triggers and Vano value cards. That's where I think the future of Yamato is, at least for me. Is it good enough?
Agree.
I would put it under Ace. Like, I dream of craziness with Ace. Yep, somewhere here.
But would I put her above Reiju? Probably not.
I would, but fine. Okay, Luffy. Wanna start?
I'm thinking. So, the only real thing that he got that I can think of is he can run Dragon as an additional pressure piece, like a big drop you can drop. But no, Dragon is 8 cost, that doesn't make sense. Honestly, I almost don't want to raise him a tier, even. Like, he's supposed to have
definitely
good matchup into Red-Purple Law, but I feel like that's exaggerated. I'll be honest, I probably didn't test against the best Red-Purple Luffys, but from the Law side, that matchup didn't feel as impossible, because ultimately, Red-Purple Luffy is not removing your stuff. And if you're playing Law, and you can just play out Ein,
Dude, you
and not
have
shambles for a turn...
you have Bonclays.
Yeah, I'll get to that. You can just ramp up freely and then set up all those bodies which hard counter him and just start swinging. And like, he's 3 life, so one hit to life is all it takes for your kid killer to be 7k. And now it doesn't matter if his lead is 8k from Whitebeard, because you're swinging him for you just attach 1 swing 8k, take a card. And the 7-cost kid is still within range to be taken out by like Gordon, Perona, or whatever. Or even like Chopper, if you're on Chopper, is minus 3k Gordon, and that's like 3 don't perfectly spent to remove the 7-cost kid. So yeah, I think the matchup that's supposed to be good for it is probably the most exaggerated. I don't think he fares well into black decks at all when they have 5 life. Like maybe bottom of coast tier. I would not expect Red Purple Luffy to do anything in OPS 7. Honestly, I don't think he did anything in OPS 6 and EB1 either. Like, he had a few appearances near the top table, but I can't really remember any good placements.
Yep.
So I don't even want to move him up.
I think someone topped Birmingham with that Luffy.
I mean, possible. I don't know if there's good one-off performances, but I don't put a lot of weight on them.
Let's move on to Dark Horse. First thing that pops up to me is Katakuri.
How low does he go?
I would even put him under Nami, yeah. I really don't believe that the climate is good enough for him.
There's this guy existing, Red Purple Law, and he just says, fuck you, Katakuri. Fuck you and your entire Charlotte family. And possibly even lower. Said, like, I'm just thinking, like, would I rather face Katakuri?
Hear me out. What about this? What if we consider online tournaments, huh?
Ooh, I'm glad you brought this up. If we play online tournaments and there's Katakuri, he's probably the scariest leader. Like,
yep.
Fun fact, one of the creations got cheated by a Katakuri player in the recent online, but luckily it was discovered in time. Shout out to Setup and me for being Go detectives. And the result was reverted, and the set creation got the top 8 finish as a result.
Yeah, we didn't want to, once again, be all doom and gloomy, but it just keeps happening. Yeah. Like, at this point, I'm not even surprised. I'm still very angry, but I'm not surprised.
Maybe if we can copy-paste the Katakuri and, like, make a tier, or, like, Katakuri with online magician written over it, and then that one goes, like, somewhere here in tier 1 or tier 2.
I agree.
But this one, I honestly even just want to put him lower. Like, he's like Reiju, except his red purple matchup is way worse than Reiju's. And that's okay, not way worse.
So, yeah.
But like Reiju's is bad, but at least she got some tools, and Katakuri didn't. Like Katakuri is just gonna struggle, and NL just completely outshines him because of the ace. I don't know. I would rather play Yamato.
I would even rather play Yamato. Yes. Rebecca had some experimentation in Boa as well, so sure, he might be better than those, but yeah, this is where I would put him. What about Zoro?
I mean, I've been a Zoro fan for a while, and I don't have much faith in him in this upcoming format. Black Hole Luffy is expected to be a prominent piece on the board, and Zoro is one of the worst decks. Like, Zoro, Black Hole Luffy and NL both become like considerations for the meta, and both matchups suck for Zoro. So I think maybe we've seen the OPA 08 animal support. There might be something there, but until then, I don't think I'll be submitting Zoro for any tournaments. Like even locals, it doesn't feel like something I can do well with if I take it. So, like,
and I would best card be very surprised if I saw Zoro in the top table.
The best card you could say he got is the Dragon, but
no.
Honestly, at this point, might even be here.
Yep.
Uta.
So the question is Uta just a worse Bonnie?
Also, I think
the
we'll have to
answer
shuffle
is-
around some of the close tiers and Dark Horse, just because the way this turned out is...
Slightly skewed, possible.
Yeah.
Is Uta worse than Bonnie? I mean, I would say so. Like, the film package is fine. But... And the card advantage is very strong. But all the cool new cards don't play that well in Uta. I mean, on the other hand, Sakazuki was the major problem there.
Yeah.
Without Sakazuki, like, the board you can produce with that deck are very impenetrable. Like, even Bonnie versus Uta is... The more I'm thinking about it, the more I like the Uta position. Like, you just have a ton of cards, huge board. Hell, even you can run Zoro, right?
Yep.
And you're in a much better position to use him.
I mean, I agree. The more I think about it, I also prefer Uta, I think. Just because the Swarm is really good. It puts a lot of pressure on decks which don't deal well with white boards, which is mainly NL. But also, yeah, you can just... So the question is, does Uta hide behind Eiko's kit better than Bonnie does? Because that would be
Definitely,
the main decider of all the random matchups.
Like, what would I rather have? Resting one unit, which costs a Dawn, or, let's say, 2 or 3 more cards, and our opponent having less resources because he had to deal with a far stronger mid-game board.
I mean, late game when there's big drops on the board, that one Dawn resting a card could be worth 3 cards in hand. So
Yes, but that's the thing. With Uta, we might not get there. She has a lot of pressure.
yeah, and I imagine she plays better against Red Purple Law than Bonnie does.
Oh, for sure.
is-
I mean, you have trouble dealing with Luffy, for example, right?
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that she can drop 3 bodies, you cannot remove all 3 bodies. And then there's all the same lockdown potential of 8-cost Kid and 10-cost Doffy present. I think I slightly prefer Uta. I would even leave her in the Dark Horse. I would move some of these, like Purple Luffy and Bonnie up, but I would leave Uta in front of them, I think.
I'm surprised myself that, yeah, I also agree.
Okay, Poofy makes it. Let's go.
I mean, I was gonna say that I agree with Uta about Luffy. Oh, fine. I think this is fine.
It's what I was saying earlier. I think Bonnie can win a 10-round, like, Swiss-only event. I can see it happening. And now gets good support. Like some really good triggers in the Frankie and Egghead Luffy. And obviously the new boss that lets him so much more consistently access those very good top 10 cards. I don't think it solves any of his major problems though, which is when, if black is meta, your deck, which has like no relevant mid game and then relies on bosses late game, it just gets obliterated. And at least for now, like, yeah, you can drop Yamato into Yamato into Yamato into Ace, but if they just get removed every turn and your opponent builds a board along the way and keeps swinging those mid-sized bodies, you get overrun. And then there's also Red Purple who does it excellently. So
they don't even have to remove all of them. Like, even if they remove 2 of them, that's enough. Like, you're never recovering from that, right?
Yeah.
So, even though a lot of people believe that Ace is the second coming of Christ or whatever, mainly I put NL there because of his aggressive potential. Because of reject because of Ace, because of
He loses reject.
Ace.
Yeah. Wait, Katakuri also lost reject. Nah.
Yeah.
Better.
So, yeah. Is he now top of close? Maybe bottom of Dark Horse. I don't know. Like. Uta seems very good into now. Luffy has historically been it's almost unwinnable for NL.
Yeah, I think it's one of those decks that it will eventually catch people off guard. Like yesterday's regional was won by NL, and I think the finals were against Sakazuki, against Paul Arasil. So sorry if I butchered
I'll have
that.
to watch that game, yeah.
I'm not sure how. Like, it's one of those matchups where I don't think Sakazuki realistically... probably some hyper aggro approach and it worked out. But can that carry you through a whole tournament? Here and there, maybe. I don't know. I guess the upside is the deck that bottom decks all your Kikunojos is now gone. They're replaced by another one that bottom decks all your Kikunojos, but then the question is, do you even play Kikunojos? Like, they would be good against Moria and Lucci, but they would suck against Black Hole Luffy.
They're also good in the mirror.
I mean, we have been NL haters for a while, so we're probably not...
True.
Okay, I have been NL hater. I know you haven't played him for a while, but we might be underrating him. That's the grain of salt I will add to this take. But yeah, okay. I agree. Bottom of Dark Horse feels alright.
Feels right. I mean, even though the two of us would probably put him lower, I think this is fair. You know what? As much as my heart aches, I think Black Hole Luffy is a tier 1 deck.
Yeah, I agree. New support, the much needed new name, and with a very relevant effect that deals with a lot of pesky bodies. Like, now you have efficient Kuzan removal, you have efficient Bonkle and Shoraya removal. Mm-hmm. It's just a consistency boost and really strong. Naturally well suited to fight off other black decks. Yeah, guy's strong.
Like, I think there's not much to say, except that the biggest thing, Sakazuki being gone.
Oh yeah.
So...
And none of the bans on either black or yellow side affected him.
Yeah. I mean, Reject was kind of cool in the deck, but it was pretty comparable to Yamato, right?
Yeah, and I've seen people run Thunderbolt, like the winner of Saturday's regional was already running Thunderbolt, because it is a deck that you don't really care for individual card efficiency as long as you get to play out all your stuff. And Thunderbolt costing only 2, allowing you to like do 2 kids with leader effect and set up Sabla and whatever and just be 9k leader. It doesn't matter that you spend Thunderbolt to KO something. Like, the deck still functions exactly as you want it to. You go to 9k.
I assume the Thunderbolt was mainly for, to deal with Shurayas, Kuzans, the important stuff, right?
I mean, I've seen it run in some OPO 8 lists as well, so I'm sure it's here to stay. People will be considering it. Yeah.
But I think it would be definitely disingenuous if we put it anywhere except tier 1. Like,
yeah,
the deck has.
Now looking at this placement, I'm thinking that both of these get moved to tier 2 actually.
Just solely on Black Yellow Luffy.
Yep. We'll get there. Whitebeard, he doesn't get anything new, but he's still Whitebeard. I'm not sure if that qualifies him for tier 2, but he is still Whitebeard, and he can take games against any deck in pretty much any meta. And I'm thinking we move him down to Dark Horse, but not all the way to the bottom.
I was thinking that he struggles versus Black Hole Luffy, and then I remembered, dude, you just play Rush Luffy, leave him on the board, and if they do nothing, you just swing 16, right?
Well, you probably can't afford 16 the first time around, but yeah.
Sure, you need to leave some dawn up, but even like, what, 13? Maybe not. That's not good enough. You take 3 cards. But you also do a lot of pressure. We'll have to see.
Oh.
But you can probably also starve off the aggression. You can probably do a 9 cost into a 9 cost relatively easily, right?
Yeah.
And after that, just cruise from there. Personally, I would leave him in tier 2. I think he plays decently into Law. Ace is a very potent card, right?
Oh yeah, and once again, bottom decking is mostly gone, so all his black matchups, there's no Sakazuki, so if you play a Marco sticks.
Mm-hmm. I mean...
That goes a long way. It doesn't work against Law, yeah. That doesn't say, against black decks, Marco now sticks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Both Marcos, that's actually even more important. There's 2 Marcos in the picture.
Okay. We talked a lot about Law. We both believe that he's probably top of tier 1, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Another question is, what about Moria and Lucci? I would put Moria in tier 2, and I think I would still keep Lucci at tier 1.
Yeah, I'm having mixed feelings thinking about... Yeah, you finish the thing, then I'll add.
I think we'll need to reimagine Moria as a deck. It needs a lot of work now. It will be probably more reliant on Bruxinas. But yeah, this ban really hurts. On the other hand, you're still the most consistent deck with abusing 8 cost Moria. You probably have to move away from brand new, but then you probably lean more into Rebecca's. There's a lot of work to do there, but I believe that he's definitely salvageable. Like, not as clean cut. This is cruising level as it was in EB1. But I still believe that he can easily win a tournament.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, you are the expert on the matter of performing with Moria. But yeah, he still has his consistency. All the thriller bar cards are still good. Sadly, he doesn't get any really relevant black support outside of maybe Black Sable to have, more tools with to deal with red purple law. He does lose probably the most important card in a lot of his early game and mid game patterns, because that eruption, reducing, and then he just keeps the card, is like, you feel a difference. When you play against Moria and they're doing Ice Age Upsalom or Tsuro Upsalom to remove your body, versus Eruption Upsalom, it's huge, because those early cards are more, like, it's more valuable to have 2 extra cards early game than it is late game. That's just how the game functions, because you want to see all your most of your options early rather than later.
And also later attacks are bigger, so you want to...
so you're just losing out on multiple fronts, and not having that eruption hurts him, because you still want to be removing bodies against red purple wall, because how does red purple wall win? Well, if you don't remove anything, that's an extra attack, possibly against 2 turns, because now you're trying to catch up on removal, and you only have so many Dawn to work with until later on in the game. Honestly, besides Sakazuki, there's not really any black leader that can remove 3 bodies per turn. It was really only a Sakazuki thing, because he had the cheap blue events. So, yeah, now there's just this possible struggle into what used to be a favorite matchup. It probably still is, I would imagine, because you'll probably be running the 6-cost Sakazuki to deal with some of the stuff like 5-cost Gibbon Curve.
Yeah, and also
you know,
Sakazuki is a problem to deal with for Law.
yeah,
Being a
7K.
Mhm.
So you'll probably include the issues as well, just for the Black Yellow Luffy matchup to make that more tolerable. You know, the deck has flexibility. How did it perform so well in OPS6? How did Christian do so well? Well, the supposedly unfavored Sakazuki matchup, he just focused really hard on it. Like in terms of deck building, adapting his choices, adapting his like base strategy. You know, when we played Krefeld, it was like go first in the matchup, but then the stage build came out, and now you need to figure out how to go second, and Hina's help fix that problem. So the deck has those spaces, like those slots to fill up with decks to help the most difficult matchups, and that flexibility is for sure going to carry it for another format. So yeah, I agree. Definitely top of tier 2. If it weren't so, yeah, top of tier 2 is very fair. Like expect some really good Moria performances throughout the format. So and then the only question that leaves is like, does Luchi still deserve tier 1?
I'm so. Like,
yeah, I'm very borderline. It feels like if I had to think what the two definitely best decks are, I would think Red Purple Law and Black Yellow Luffy, just because they have the ability to deal with pretty much anything. I guess Black Yellow Luffy, if he runs into Bonnie, he's really sad. Because that's like a perfect counter. But they're still like the decks with the most all-around strength against every deck. And then Luchi just has that thorn in his eye with Black Yellow Luffy. But yeah, bottom of tier 1, top of tier 2 is what I'm feeling. Like, he's consistently going to see his engine, because there's a lot of recursion in black, and he just trashes for free. He has the free cost reduction. We know that's good from Sakazuki. And the only question is how much he can push that, and how reliant he is on seeing a nice lobby into several matchups.
early. Yeah, well, I mean, Moria still keeps his consistency. Like, you are often playing with your trash. That's always what kept the deck being consistent. Like, you can sculpt a lot of your hands into whatever you want, because you can turn almost any card into a thriller bar card, which is, all of them are great, right?
Yeah, but he does lose some consistency. There's no Margarita option, and that used to be
like that needs to be addressed for sure. What I'm trying to say is, how much is Lucci better? I would even say it's comparable. Annie's lobby is a huge thing, and if you don't see it early, then it's almost a liability.
Or ideally for free out of life.
Yeah. I think this feels right.
Yeah.
I think that Lucci just has stronger potential than Moria. I mean, Annie's lobby is just a heck of a card.
Let me just hide our cameras from the view for a moment, just so people can see the full tier list. Oh, I'm doing it the wrong way. This one.
Okay, everybody. These are our predictions for OP7. Once again, we are less putting less of our reputation behind this, because it's predictions, right? We're not even in OPSN format. We'll definitely be revisiting this list once we dip our toes into the format proper. Until then, yeah, let us know what you think about the list. Do you think Hody Jones is severely misplaced? Or any other leaders? And we'll be listening to all of it and disregarding it in the case of Hody Jones. Let's move on to A Diamond in the Rough, which will be a very overlooked event called Soap Sheep from OPO3. I think it's OP3, yeah? Yeah, OP3.
Yeah, it is.
Yep, so Soap Sheep is a CP9 event card, costing 1. It's only playable during your turn. And it says give up to 2 of your opponent characters -2 cost during this turn. And it has the same trigger as Great Eruption, which we found out is quite relevant. Okay, so this card is most comparable to Ice Age. Ice Age provides a higher reduction. Soap Sheep gives you a little bit more flexibility with the reduction. And it usually lines up better for Luchi plays. We always say that cards affecting multiple cards is where power lies. This is not that in the purest sense. This is... You can almost think of it like playing 2 Tsuros, right?
Yep.
And that sounds pretty great, but you need to remember that you usually only play Tsuro as a last resort, as in you already played some very efficient reduction, and then you just need to go over the finish line, right? For example, you already played Ice Age. On the other hand, it also works early game, right? Soap Sheep into Absalom or into Luchi clears the forecast. That's not the worst floor. You often play early Ice Age just as a reduction for a forecast unit, right? And then you have a little bit more granularity late game, coupled with the fact that it's CP9, which is very relevant for Luchi. And I think all this adds up to a card which is definitely underutilized and overlooked. Did I miss anything? What would you add?
Well, I think there's in the upcoming meta a very specific pain point that has been present in the past, where when you just think about the math, Ice Age, if you have access to another cost reduction, Ice Age is usually better. Why is that? Well, Ice Age reduces one thing and then you just reduce the other thing and you achieve the same effect, right? But there are, based on like just design of many cost reductions, situations where it's not sufficient. Like, when does Ice Age work? Let's say NL played Holy on 4, and you're playing Sakazuki, and now you can just later swing, reduce Holy, Ice Age, rob Luchi, both of them. That was like one of the things you even, like, if you had it in your opening hand going first against NL in OPF5, you just kept the hand because it was such a strong consideration. But when did it not work? Well, let's say you were going against Purple Luffy instead, and they do ulti into page 1, and it's 2 forecasts. And now no combination of Sakazuki swing and Ice Age removes this, but Soap Sheep or Sakazuki does. So it gets you out of a pinch. You just go Soap Sheep, Sakazuki, leader swing, rob Luchi, clear. And now we are entering a meta where these forecasts are going to be all the rage, especially in Red Purple. And here we have a searchable card with an amazing trigger, especially against Red Purple who might struggle with card economy. That does pretty much what you want it to. If you need to remove 2 forecast bodies on 5 because Ola went, I don't know, Bonclay into Shachi Penguin and now has 2 forecasts, leader swing, reduce 1, Soap Sheep, rob Luchi, clear both. And that's probably where you win the game. Because that's usually how the game gets blown out early against Red Purple, where you just get that 2-body clear very early. And it's not like Sakazuki where you kind of feel you need to repeat that 2-body clear immediately after to, keep up, because you're 5-life leader. If you get a 2-body clear early, you're probably winning. And this is a card that enables that. It has all the relevant attributes. It has a very good secondary ability. It's I think for this specific upcoming meta, it's not a card you want to overlook. It's obviously going to be worse in some matchups like NL, I guess. Black Hill Luffy, it's not even that bad because if you have the stage, okay, no, if you have the stage, it's the same as Ice Age, slightly worse. So I guess it's mainly early in consideration against the purple decks, because who knows, purple Luffy might also be the goo.
And I mean, it's also one of the, I think, the easiest sell out of all of our diamonds. That I think a lot of you can immediately see the implication and the impact, especially for the upcoming meta and the upcoming very relevant deck in Luchi.
Yeah, and it's not just Luchi. If you play Perona, I guess you also have the option of -1 this and Robuchi. But I'm not sure how relevant it is, because Robuchi is too taxing on the trash for Perona.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay. And with this diamond, we'll be saying bye-bye. You can catch us all in Mulheim this weekend. And if not then next week on the interwebs.
Yep. I said yep so many times this podcast. I'll promise not to do it in the future. Yep.
I hope you enjoyed us. And we hope to see you as well next time. Take care and have fun playing the game.
Bye-bye.